This secret laboratory hidden in the asylum is actually for locking up superpowered outcasts and conducting live experiments on them in an attempt to transfer superpowers to ordinary people. So far, more and more outcasts have been persecuted. Even Wednesday's uncle is being secretly detained. During the rescue mission, she accidentally caused a power accident, resulting in 46 dangerous patients escaping from the asylum. There are both an unnamed zombie that eats human brains raw, and the super monster Hyde. The town's in a crisis like never before. See how Wednesday turns the tide. Save the fates of her friends and family once again. Netflix's annual highest viewed hit drama, Wednesday, is finally online. Enough with the chatter, let's start right away. Wednesday Addams is having a rare summer vacation. She uses the vacation to hone her psychic abilities and focuses on the hobby. While other girls are obsessed with playing with dolls, Wednesday loves to immerse herself in studying murderers. Among them, the most fascinating one is the Kansas City Skinner, America's most elusive serial killer. Recently, the 11th victim of the Skinner dropped her most cherished toy ball when she was abducted. With this ball, Wednesday used her psychic abilities to target the Skinner's location, so she rushed to the airport, preparing to fly to Kansas City. The security inspector didn't bat an eyelid when he saw her take a fake hand out of her bag, but when she pulled out sunscreen over 100 milliliters, he treated it as a major threat. Finally, Wednesday still successfully arrived at her destination. During her previous psychic vision, she had seen the killer's car. It was a van with Chet's dog grooming written on it. She used this clue to find the Skinner. Before she could even pull out her taser, she was caught by him. Wednesday was locked in the basement by the Skinner. This pervert makes a doll modeled after the victim every time he harms a child. Unfortunately, the Skinner underestimated Wednesday. Thing helped its owner launch a surprise attack. Wednesday took the opportunity to untie the ropes on her. She picked up the boning knife on the cart.
Let's play dolls.
Finally, the news that the Skinner was skinned dominated the front pages for several days. Thing reminded Wednesday to be careful, because she shed black tears when she encountered the killer. This situation isn't explained in the spellbook. Wednesday just regarded it as a minor malfunction, and didn't pay much attention to it. Her summer vacation is over, and she must return to school today. Before the summer vacation, her younger brother Pugsley also awakened his ability. Like Uncle Fester, he can release lightning from his fingers. The family made a bet on whether Pugsley could hit the road sign. The latter lived up to expectations and knocked down the sign, but the collapsed road sign disrupted traffic, causing a car accident involving two vehicles. Unfortunately, this executioner family will not feel guilty. At the same time, near Nevermore Academy, a bald man was taking candid photos of an affectionate couple in the distance. He looked like a detective specifically hired to catch someone in an affair. While he was focused on taking photos, several crows landed on the tree, and soon rushed towards the bald man. He quickly hid in the car.
They're on to me. If I don't make it, the evidence is safe at the bullpen.
As soon as the words were spoken, the uncle saw crows gathering in the back seat. A scream pierced the sky. Wednesday had already arrived at the academy. Her mother told her to take good care of her younger brother.
I always do.
Wednesday had become a star at Nevermore. After defeating the Pilgrim Demon last semester, everyone was whispering about her. Some girls even came over to ask for her autograph. Barry, the new principal, also came over to greet her specifically. He planned to revive the founding bonfire celebration and invited Wednesday to be an honor student. Wednesday declined. She would rather be tied to a stake and burned to death than be an honor student. When Wednesday returned to her dormitory, she found it packed with people. Enid drove them all out. The two exchanged gifts and shared their summer vacation news. Enid had been avoiding Ajax lately, wanting to find a chance to break up with him. A crossbow bolt nailed into the wall. It read, "Welcome back, Wednesday. I'm still watching you." She picked up the paper and used her psychic powers, but couldn't see the stalker's shadow, and black tears flowed from her eyes again. Mr. and Mrs. Addams were showing Pugsley around the dormitory he was about to move into. Pugsley's future roommate is named Eugene. His ability is to control various insects. He didn't want to be roommates with Pugsley, but because he owed Wednesday a favor, he had to agree. Principal Dot intended to win over the Addams family. He also invited her mother Morticia to be the chair of the fundraising gala committee. The chair for the past 3 years had been Vincent Thorpe, but after Xavier was wrongfully accused of murder, he had his son transfer schools and withdrew his donations to the school.
To show his sincerity, the principal let Morticia stay temporarily in the gardener's cottage, to think about whether to accept the offer. Morticia noticed that Wednesday had been acting strangely lately, so she agreed to stay temporarily in the gardener's cottage. Thing couldn't figure out why Wednesday didn't tell her mother about the black tears. The two walked to the back of the school, and saw a crowd of police officers gathered not far away. On a stretcher lay a bald man whose eyes had been pecked out by crows. His name was Carl Bradbury, a local private detective. The callers were Greg and Debbie, the couple who had been photographed secretly. Greg was the manager of the piglet store, Debbie was his cashier. The body was clearly attacked by crows, so Sheriff Santiago had no intention of investigating further. Just then, Wednesday caught a glimpse of a suspicious figure. She quickly chased after him, only to find that it was Galpin, who was the father of Tyler, the male lead in the first season. Galpin was friends with the victim Carl. He explained that Carl had accidentally discovered something while working as a private detective, which was why he was attacked by outliers. Galpin was determined to find the truth. He also told Wednesday that if she was interested, she could investigate with him.
Just remember, the birds are always watching.
Late at night, Ajax was telling everyone the story of the skull tree, because telling this story on the first night of school is a tradition of Caliban dormitory. Once upon a time, there was a clever boy. He had a fragile heart, so he was bedridden all day, conceiving wonderful machines he wanted to create in the future. The doctors suddenly said he only had a few months to live, so the boy decided to design a mechanical heart to make his body keep up with his extraordinary mind. The operation was a great success, but the wind-up heart changed the boy, making him indifferent. He also enrolled in Nevermore Academy. The boy quickly became the smartest person in the entire school's history. The inventions he developed became more and more dangerous. Finally, one day his genius cost him his life. It is said that the boy's body was buried under the skull tree. If you press your ear against the hollow left eye of the skull, you can still hear his wind-up heart ticking. Only the bravest people in Caliban dormitory dare to venture out at night to listen to the ticking of the wind-up heart. At the same time, the principal called Bianca to his office, hoping she would be the student liaison for the fundraising gala. Bianca only wanted to focus on her studies, so she declined. The principal actually threatened her, saying that Bianca was a scholarship student. If the school falls into financial difficulties and fails to reach the fundraising target, it will have to let some scholarship students leave. Bianca certainly understood his implication. She had to agree to the principal. Wednesday returned to the dormitory, and found the room crowded again with Enid's werewolf friends. Thing was also surrounded, joining in the fun. Wednesday hated the environment with so many people, so she went to the music classroom to play the violin. Unexpectedly, the sound of the violin attracted the new head of the music department, Ms. Capri. Wednesday had heard a lot about this teacher and knew she was a musical genius, but Wednesday had no intention of asking Ms. Capri for advice. She played purely to vent her emotions. When Wednesday returned to the dormitory, she learned that Xavier had sent a letter, enclosed with a portrait of crows. This image often flashed through Xavier's mind, so he drew it and gave it to Wednesday, as a farewell gift after transferring schools. Xavier's paintings have always predicted the future. Just then, Wednesday found that someone had taken the first draft of her novel. Only a piece of paper was left in the drawer.
Higher, 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 I am demon of the fire, and each blazing roof's my pyre. My stalker is going to burn my manuscript at the founder's pyre.
Wednesday didn't leave any copies. She wouldn't allow 2 years of hard work to go up in smoke, so she called Enid and headed to the bonfire party to look for suspicious figures. At this moment, several students passed Wednesday by. She felt a pain in her palm, and pulled out a piece of paper with a blade attached to it from her pocket. If you don't want your novel to go up in smoke, meet me under the bonfire. Wednesday directly moved the bonfire wood pile aside and crawled in. Enid, fearing she might get into trouble, hurried after her and told Wednesday to get out quickly, because the bonfire could be lit at any moment. Meanwhile, the principal was announcing the abolition of nightshade in all secret societies, to protect the school and outliers together. After speaking, he waved his hand and lit the bonfire. An eagle made of vines slowly spread its wings and flew around the party venue. Enid hurried to find the principal to put out the fire. However, Wednesday had already found the manuscript, and crawled out before the vines collapsed. The principal saw her coming and yanked off the portrait on the stage. It depicted scenes of several honor students saving the school. It made Wednesday want to gouge out her own eyes. She rushed onto the stage, lit the portrait, and refused to be a representative or leader of any group. People in the square were all drawn to Wednesday. No one noticed that Pugsley came to the skull tree, preparing to dig up the child from the legend. As soon as he got close to the skull's eye, he was knocked down by crows flying out of it. Pugsley's electric shock ability was accidentally activated. It was unclear whether the electricity had activated the dead child's mechanical heart. He actually crawled out from underground. Pugsley wore an excited smile. At the same time, Enid caught up with Wednesday. As soon as they made contact, their psychic abilities were instantly activated. Wednesday saw a crow perched on a tombstone.
I die because of you!
When she woke up again, she found herself lying beside her mother. Now, the matter of the black tears could no longer be hidden. Morticia pointed out that these tears mean your psychic abilities are about to be exhausted. Before a new guide appears to guide you, it's best to hand over Goody's spell book to me for safekeeping. Wednesday refused to agree. She still needed that book to assist in the investigation. Now, Galpin's warning, Xavier's painting, and the earlier vision of Enid's death are all related to a one-eyed crow. Wednesday planned to go talk to Galpin, but he died strangely, with both eyes pecked out by crows. Wednesday lowered her head to observe his open mouth. A large flock of crows flew out of his mouth. These strange birds broke through the glass and flew out the window. One of them, just like in Xavier's painting, had only one eye. Wednesday wanted to find clues through her psychic abilities, but after she touched Galpin, she couldn't see any images. At this moment, the sound of sirens rang out outside. Wednesday was about to slip away but was caught by the sheriff. The sheriff suddenly visited, because he found that the detective named Carl had called Galpin before his death, so he came to search for Galpin's phone. Unfortunately, they found nothing. The sheriff had intended to interrogate Wednesday. Mr. Adams quickly bailed his daughter out of the police station. In his capacity as a lawyer, the next day, Eugene went to the Hummerbee Club's cabin to take care of his insects, but he accidentally stumbled upon Pugsley's secret. Pugsley not only dug up the mechanical-hearted boy, but also helped bring him back to life. Pugsley wanted to keep him as his pet. Hearing this, Eugene tentatively held out a jar of honey. Unexpectedly, the other party really liked it.
See? He likes it.
I think I'm gonna call him Slurp.
Wednesday returned to the dormitory. She found an eyeball on her pillow, and recognized it as Galpin's blue eye. Just then, Enid received 3 messages, all from Wednesday's stalker. Presumably, because she doesn't use a phone, the stalker had to send them to Enid instead. Wednesday immediately called back. Unexpectedly, the voice message indicated that this was Galpin's phone. It must have been taken by his killer. It was only then that Enid realized Galpin was dead. She didn't want to get involved in a messy murder case less than a week into the semester, so she packed her things and headed to class. Enid planned to get her driver's license this semester. Today is the annual prank day. The kids at the academy were playing around like crazy. Only Ajax was staring at Enid with a werewolf hunk named Aruno. Flames of jealousy burned fiercely in his heart. His friend Eugene couldn't stand it, and handed him a jar of flying bloodsuckers, intentionally to get back at Aruno. Ajax was happy for less than 2 minutes before falling victim to a classmate's prank. Professor Orloff watched the playful students, and grew more and more annoyed with prank day. After all, last year some students put eels in his water tank. Wednesday stopped him and told the principal she was doing research on birds, so she wanted to know if there were any outcasts at the academy who could control birds. Orloff said this ability was uncommon. The school hadn't had any avian students in 10 years. Wednesday had to switch to another approach to continue her investigation. She planned to visit Tyler, who was locked up in the asylum, but the distance was far, so she needed transportation. Wednesday took Enid's driver's ed permission slip, and instructed Thing to stay in the dorm to protect the spell book and Enid. Hurried footsteps were already heard outside the door. It was Enid, who had forgotten her permission slip and come back. She searched for a long time but couldn't find it, and was about to leave when she ran into Mrs. Morticia. She had come to take the spell book. Thing, remembering Wednesday's instructions, refused to give in. Morticia was about to resort to emotional appeals, but Thing pointed out that the two of them treated him like a servant. It wouldn't betray Wednesday. Morticia was about to refute but remembered the bits and pieces from before. They had made Thing pour wine and hold golf balls, among other things. For once, Morticia had no words to defend herself. At the same time, Wednesday found the driving instructor and, posing as Enid, successfully got into the driver's seat. However, the passenger seat also had a brake, installed to prevent students from misbehaving. As the instructor spoke, he glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a strange figure. It turned out to be Pugsley's pet that had broken free from its chains, but the instructor couldn't have imagined a student would keep a dead person as a pet. He just thought the figure was a prank day creation. In the moment of distraction, Wednesday cut the brake line on the passenger side. Now she could finally use the car as she pleased. Wednesday drove to Willow Hill Asylum. The director let her in immediately upon hearing she had arrived, but he had to state that to get visitation rights, she first needed permission from Dr. Fairburn. She is our chief physician and a pioneer in outcast mental health. Dr. Fairburn happened to arrive at the office. Unexpectedly, she approved Wednesday's visit, and believed she would be the key to unlocking Tyler's recovery. After all, Wednesday had a significant relationship with Tyler before. The two had almost become a couple. Wednesday passed through layers of security doors and saw Tyler tied to the wall. Let's briefly recap this important character here. Tyler is the son of Sheriff Galpin and an outcast. He harbors the gene of the mutated creature Hyde. He was manipulated by plant teacher Marilyn into awakening his Hyde nature, and killing many people. Thus, he was locked up in the asylum. Wednesday was too lazy to exchange pleasantries with Tyler. She told him about Galpin and Carl's deaths, wanting to know if Tyler had any relevant clues. Tyler refused to reveal anything. Wednesday simply left.
Say hi to Enid for me. Tell her I'm gonna kill her the next time I see her.
Wednesday wouldn't allow anyone to joke about Enid's life.
Thornhill chose you to be her murderous marionette, not just because she saw some Hyde hibernating inside of you, but because she saw the real you. An expendable nobody. A feeble-minded schoolyard bully. Your fleeting moment of notoriety will fade quicker than your generic looks.
Wednesday's words cut to the quick, enraging Tyler so much that he almost lost control. At the same time, Enid, whose driver's ed class had fallen through, took Aruno back to the dormitory. They saw a package addressed to Thing on the floor. Enid, worried it was from the stalker again, opened it only to find it was a birthday card. It was sent by Fester to wish Thing a happy birthday. However, the entire Addams family had forgotten this important day. Hearing this, Enid felt sorry for him and planned to take Thing out to celebrate. Aruno suddenly collapsed to the ground. Enid rushed over to check on him. Thing, who had wanted to follow, was locked in the cabinet, unable to know what was happening outside. The principal told Bianca to hand the donation list to Morticia, and implied that she should get in touch with her mother Hester, because Morticia's mother was extremely wealthy. The school badly needed this big fish to sponsor it. However, Morticia had a cold relationship with her mother, and refused to even make a phone call. Bianca didn't want to push, but the principal forced her to use the siren song on Morticia, to make her contact Hester. Hearing this, Bianca finally got angry and was about to use the siren song on the principal. He had a Corinthian coral artifact on him that made him immune to the siren song. Bianca couldn't outsmart this old fox and had to obey. A few minutes later, Wednesday returned to the dormitory, which was empty. She only saw Enid's bag lying on the floor. She opened the box and asked Thing, only to learn that something had happened to Enid. Immediately after, the phone in the bag rang, and the person on the other end said the game had just begun. You have 30 minutes to find your werewolf friend. Otherwise I'll kill her. The next second, a card slid under the door. Wednesday quickly opened the door to check but didn't see a single figure. As for the card, it only had the words "Play Dead" written on it. When Enid woke up, she found herself tied up with Aruno. Judging from the surroundings, this place should be Iago Tower. A few years ago, due to damage caused by a strange thunderstorm, the school blocked it off. Enid had thought it was Ajax's prank, but countless sharp swords hung above their heads. The two realized it wasn't that simple. Someone wanted their lives. Meanwhile, Wednesday was searching everywhere for Enid, and ran into the music teacher on the way. She asked Wednesday to join the school orchestra. Although Wednesday had no interest in performing, she suddenly realized that the letters on the card represented musical notes. The heart symbol on the back represented the pipe organ. She played the keys according to the words and indeed opened a hidden door. Inside was a deep tunnel, and as the lights flickered, a figure flashed by. An unfamiliar mask appeared on the ground, with the words "Time waits for no one" written on it. Wednesday recognized that the end of the tunnel led to Iago Tower. When she arrived at the scene by elevator, Enid was kissing Aruno passionately. These two really had nerves of steel. Wednesday quickly told Thing to go pick the lock, but he accidentally triggered a mechanism. Several sharp weapons fell down, almost cutting Thing in half. The sword targets above were also closing in on Enid. Wednesday found that this mechanism was connected to a typewriter, with a clue left by the killer. What don't you see? Wednesday looked around at the piles of books, which included works by Poe, Dante, Shelley, and Dickens. Each pile was made up of works by famous authors. The answer must be some missing book. As the sharp sword was about to stab Enid, Wednesday found the answer. It turned out that the pile of H.E.G. Wells books was missing the Invisible Man. Arrow targets rose back into the air. The mastermind finally showed up.
Happy prank day, Wednesday. My crazed stalker is an invisible 13-year-old.
This girl was the fan who asked for an autograph earlier. Her name is Agnes DeMille, and she's Wednesday's #1 fan. Agnes staged this whole thing just to get her idol's attention. She had nothing to do with Galpin's death or that eyeball, but Agnes did get Galpin's phone. She gave this important piece of evidence to her idol, and offered to help her find out the truth. "Come to me anytime you need." After Wednesday returned to the dormitory, she apologized to Thing for forgetting his birthday, and gave him an ancient thumbscrew torture device. As an apology, this item is a product of the Napoleonic era, designed by Anatole Debler, but after accepting the gift, Thing felt a little guilty, because Goody's spellbook had been taken by Morticia. As the conversation went on, Bianca knocked on the door of the gardener's cottage. He used siren magic to hypnotize Morticia, making her convince her mother to donate. At the same time, the driving instructor hit a slitherer on his way home. He quickly got out of the car to check, and ended up as the slitherer's meal. The monster, well-fed and satisfied, returned to the wooden house to continue being Pugsley's pet, but Eugene soon noticed that the slitherer's head wound seemed to be healing. Its brain was also regrowing. He couldn't help but marvel at the wonder of God's creation. The slitherer had been supplementing its diet in private, hence the miraculous transformation in its body. What's more, after tasting a human brain once, this creature fell in love with that flavor. If Pugsley hadn't stopped it in time, it would have almost given in to the urge to bite Eugene. Eugene felt this thing was too dangerous. "The school is organizing an outdoor camping trip soon. We can't leave it here alone." Pugsley said not to worry, as he had already made arrangements. The scene shifts back to the garden cottage. The Adamses knew that today was Thing's birthday, and used their connections to hire the best limb massager to do a set of meticulous care for Thing. Speaking of which, Morticia couldn't help but feel remorseful. She had indeed neglected family members lately, being busy with the fundraising gala last night to raise funds. She even had the thought of calling her mother, which was really unthinkable. Adams knew his wife didn't get along with her mother-in-law, so he specially invited Morticia to dance to cheer her up. It was at this moment that Wednesday slipped into the garden cottage, intending to steal the spell book her mother had hidden in the cabinet. Unfortunately, Morticia had extraordinary hearing and quickly noticed her daughter's movements. Wednesday couldn't do without this book, so she decided to tell her mother. In her recent vision, she discovered that Enid's death was caused by herself. A one-eyed crow also appeared in the dream. Galpin and his friend were both killed by this kind of bird today. Wednesday must find the killer before he targets Enid, so she needs the help of the spellbook. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Morticia became more determined not to give the book to her daughter, because the spellbook provides Wednesday with too many shortcuts, which will inevitably lead her down a dangerous path full of pain. Wednesday's current impatience reminded Morticia of her sister Ophelia, the witch who successfully drove herself insane. Morticia couldn't bear to see her daughter repeat the same mistake. For now, Wednesday couldn't rely on supernatural abilities, and had to solve the case. Using the most traditional methods, she turned to study Galpin's phone, and discussed with Thing how to protect Enid. Unexpectedly, their entire conversation was heard by Agnes, who could turn invisible. Wednesday ordered her to keep what just happened a secret, and under no circumstances let Enid know that she died in Wednesday's vision. Otherwise, she would definitely be too scared to eat or sleep. After giving the warning, Wednesday went to attend Galpin's funeral. Only the sheriff and Dr. Fairburn were present. The former came because the police station required an official to attend, while the latter came at Tyler's request to confirm if Galpin was really dead. Plus Wednesday, there were 3 mourners in total. Galpin had really hit rock bottom. From Wednesday's questioning, it was learned that Galpin had only visited Willow Hill once, and within seconds, he had forced Tyler to transform. He almost tore apart the titanium alloy railings of the cell, and it took 5 minutes of being attacked by the electric collar to barely return to human form. This was enough to show Galpin's influence on Tyler. While the two were talking, that one-eyed crow was perched on a nearby tombstone. Although Wednesday didn't want to accept Agnes's help, this girl knew how to unlock Galpin's phone. It turned out that one of Agnes's friends was an outcast with shape-shifting abilities, who could transform into Galpin's appearance to unlock the facial recognition. Before the police could search, Agnes had also taken as many things as possible from Galpin's house. Wednesday accepted the box, chased her away, and then opened the voice message sent by Carl.
They're on to me. If I don't make it, the evidence is safe with the bullpen.
What on earth does this forest cabin refer to? Wednesday opened the box given by Agnes and found a photo of a cabin. On the back, there was also an address written, 2015, Pine Ridge Road. The cabin is near Jericho. By a coincidence, it was exactly at the location chosen for the off-campus camping trip. The scene shifts to Apple Valley Inn. Bianca took the key to room 302 and hypnotized the front desk clerk. This guest must not be disturbed. I have never been here. Bianca's mother is staying in room 302. She seems to be hiding from someone named Gideon.
We both know the only reason he married me was to help him recruit people so that he could steal their money.
Bianca comforted her mother,
telling her to lie low for a few days. I've already had the FBI take action. Once Gideon is detained, we'll be free the next day. The principal blew the assembly call and told everyone to take the bus together. However, the music teacher looked extremely nervous, because this camping trip is during the full moon, and there are so many werewolf members in the school. Enid didn't feel worried though, and was very happy when she saw Wednesday. She had thought Wednesday wouldn't participate in this activity. What upset Enid, though, was that the creepy Agnes kept following Wednesday around, because this girl is really capable. With her help, Wednesday can save a lot of time. Soon, the school bus arrived at Jericho Camp. Wednesday found that her weird brother had actually dragged a coffin to the camping trip. Needless to say, it must contain the Slitherer, but Pugsley wouldn't tell the truth to his sister. Wednesday was about to ask when she saw a familiar car. Their parents had actually come to this camping trip too, saying that the school was looking for parent chaperones, so the Addams couple came to join in the fun. Wednesday was still angry with her mother about the spellbook, and they were in a Cold War. The principal quickly gathered everyone to give a speech, saying that no cell phones were allowed on this camping trip. There would be no normal people within a few kilometers either. They could enjoy to their heart's content a vacation for outliers. As soon as he finished speaking, a man claiming to be an instructor from Phoenix Academy came over, saying he had booked this camp 6 months ago, so the people from Nevermore must leave. Upon hearing this, the principal also took out a contract, saying he had also booked the place. Jericho Camp is run by a father and son. Presumably, they messed up the bookings, resulting in the double booking of the two groups. Now both sides refused to back down and leave the camp. In the end, Wednesday stepped forward and proposed, "How about we have a contest? Winner stays, loser leaves." Both sides quickly specified the contest details and rules. Each team can consist of at most 10 people, divided into a defense team and an attack team. The defense team will hold the other team's token, while the attack team can regain the token by any means. Once a team regains their own token, they can fire a flare and then sprint to the finish line, cross Sedgwick Falls and return to the watchtower. The first team to place their token on top of the tower wins. Both sides quickly formed their ideal teams, to level the playing field for the human team. The instructor specially prepared several boxes of military supplies for his students. After all, humans have no superpowers and need to rely on external objects. At this moment, the human defense team was wearing headphones to protect the token, which could block the siren's morning song control. On the other side, the outlier defense team was in charge of Ajax and his companions. Two enemy players hiding in the dark shot an arrow at Ajax's knit hat. His Medusa hair took effect immediately, instantly petrifying his own teammates. The human voice took the opportunity to cover Ajax with a sack. They took the outlier token and fired a flare. Once the green flare was launched, everyone knew the humans had taken the lead. Wednesday ordered the two young werewolves, Enid and Aruno, to go first. The human defense team immediately released tear gas. Wednesday sent in air support. Eugene controlled the wasps to attack the enemies. The enemy, as expected, were routed. Wednesday walked into the gas fumes and retrieved the token. Bianca immediately fired a purple flare. Now, human Captain Billy and outlier Captain Wednesday, with their respective tokens, headed for the finish line. Although Billy reached the base of the tower first, Wednesday ran to the opposite hill. She fired a grappling hook, secured it directly to the tower, kicked Billy aside, and claimed victory. After getting rid of these obstructive humans, Wednesday unfolded the map to confirm the location of Galpin's cabin. It was about 4 kilometers east of the camp. If they set off now, they could rush back as soon as possible before everyone noticed. As for the Phoenix Academy side, they didn't easily accept their defeat. They were planning to retake the camp tonight. While the bonfire party was taking place, Wednesday found the forest cabin in the photo, and discovered a mechanism behind the mirror. It was covered with obituaries of outliers. They were all patients from Willow Hill Asylum. The earliest dated back to death news from 15 years ago. At the top of these clippings, Louise was written in red ink, seemingly implying that this person was targeting outliers. Unfortunately, Wednesday's psychic abilities hadn't recovered yet. She had to retrieve Goody's spellbook first. Outside the window, that one-eyed crow was staring at Wednesday's movements. The scene shifts back to the camp. The principal was still persuading Morticia to invite Hester to the school. As for Ajax, he finally mustered the courage to stop Enid. He couldn't figure out what he had done wrong, that Enid wouldn't even say goodbye, and instead hit it off with that Aruno right away. Enid explained that now that she had integrated into werewolf life, she was no longer the insecure girl she used to be, so her feelings and pursuits were changing too.
You never gave me a heads up. I wish we could have just talked about it before you moved on without me.
I'm really sorry.
The human scouts hiding in the dark crawled out of the haystacks, and expressed sympathy for Ajax's misfortune. But this didn't stop them from trying to retake the camp. Actually, Billy thought accepting defeat when you lose a bet is what a true man does, so he didn't want to destroy the outcasts' camp. However, the instructor couldn't accept defeat, and insisted they launch a sneak attack. Just as this group was preparing to block off the perimeter of the tents, Wednesday challenged her mother to a blindfolded duel, intending to reclaim her spellbook. Blindfolded duels are an ancient tradition of the Addams family. The two pulled out the sharp swords from the case, revealing two specially made heart pins inside. The mother and daughter each chose one and pinned it to their lapels. Whoever first pierces the other's glass heart wins. Whoever wins has the right to dispose of the spellbook. The two blindfolded themselves and began the duel.
You're getting misty, Mother. I can practically hear you creak.
Just as the mother and daughter were engaged in a fierce fight, the instructor from Phoenix Academy led the charge into the camp, accidentally triggering the fireworks set by Pugsley, and plunged headfirst into his tent. The Slitherer wouldn't let this delivered delicacy go,
and bit into the instructor's brain. Pugsley and Eugene, after seeing the fireworks,
hurried back to the tent. The instructor's body lay on the ground, but the Slitherer was nowhere to be seen. Just as the two didn't know what to do, Agnes suddenly deactivated her invisibility and appeared. She intended to help Wednesday handle these low-priority tasks, to prove her worth to her idol, so the three of them immediately went out to look for the Slitherer. Little did they know that the creature, carrying an axe,
had walked to where Father Adams was bathing. Father was holding a
solo concert in the bathroom, and didn't hear the sound of the axe chopping. The Slitherer had already stuck its head in and stuck out its long tongue. Adams suddenly bent down to pick up the soap and dodged the attack. Immediately after, Pugsley arrived just in time and electrocuted the Slitherer away. After this move, both father and son were stunned. Pugsley also didn't know he had such great power. Now the existence of the Slitherer was exposed to everyone. He, holding the axe, straight into the dueling arena of Wednesday and her mother. At this moment, their duel had reached a fever pitch. In the end, Morticia, having the upper hand, smashed Wednesday's glass heart pin. The latter took off her blindfold and threw a sword, piercing straight through the Slitherer's forehead. Because of the instructor's accidental death, the police soon arrived at the camp and took the Slitherer to prison. Pugsley grieved over the loss of his pet.
Wednesday also lost Goody's spell
book. In an unnoticed corner, a new inmate was locked up in Willow Hill Asylum. This person was Marilyn, the plant teacher who controlled Tyler. Dr. Fairburn took her to visit Tyler. The latter, as soon as he saw Marilyn, immediately transformed into his monster form, and grabbed her by the throat. Marilyn was not only unafraid but also had an undisguisable excitement. Truly lives up to being a big pervert.
The scene shifts to Wednesday arriving at Willow Hill Columbarium to find the deceased mentioned in the obituaries.
Grandmother Hester came after receiving her message. Wednesday wanted to use her abilities to investigate, but grandmother told her to smell the ashes. There were smells of deer, squirrels, and raccoons in them, but not a trace of the smell belonging to humans. In other words, these ashes were fake. The next second, a crow flew over and carried away the obituary booklet Wednesday had brought. She chased after it hard and found the crow following a mysterious person and quickly leaving. Wednesday could only ask her grandmother to buy this piece of cemetery land to find out who approved those cremations. This way of investigating cases is truly outrageously wealthy. To save her friend, Wednesday ran around everywhere, unaware. Enid was busy making out with her new boyfriend. At this moment, the violin bow in the corner fell to the ground. Wednesday realized Agnes was also there.
How long have you been here?
Somewhere between... I'm definitely scarred.
Agnes came to deliver a letter for Wednesday. Judging from the postmark, it seems to be from a publisher, because Wednesday refused to accept the editor's revision suggestions, so the publishing house terminated the cooperation. Unfortunately, Wednesday has no time to deal with the publication of her novel. She called her uncle over and asked him to find a way to break into Willow Hill Asylum. Uncle Fester not only exclaimed that the last time he went to that place was to visit your Aunt Ophelia. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly released lightning. It turned out that Agnes was hiding nearby. She brought a detailed map of Willow Hill. Wednesday handed it to her uncle, and instructed him to look for someone named Louise. She could be a patient or a doctor. Fester told his niece not to worry, as no one knows asylums better than him, because Fester was abandoned by his parents in a mental institution when he was 10 years old.
Did you see, Fester? Death? Death? Still death.
Wednesday said goodbye to her uncle, and went to ask her mother why Ophelia was sent to
Willow Hill, the latter confessed that in her sophomore year of high school, just like you, she overused her psychic abilities, shed black tears, lost mental control, and was sent to Willow Hill by Hester. As soon as the words were spoken, grandmother appeared with the land deed, and whispered to Wednesday, the person who approved the cremation is named Augustus. Besides that, Hester agreed to donate to the school, but on the condition that Morticia must return the spell book to Wednesday. The latter picked up the book and threw it into the fireplace to burn. On the other side, Fester went to Apple Valley Inn to rent a room, deliberately attracted the clerk's attention with a very suspicious attitude, to take the opportunity to enter the asylum. Sure enough, on the day Fester checked in, the clerk couldn't help but call the police. Finally, the police found 18 passports and 33 driver's licenses in Fester's room, and also found out that he had robbed a bank. After witnessing this weirdo eat the cactus on the table, the sheriff contacted Dr. Fairburn to conduct a mental evaluation on Fester. In addition, this unexpected search also led the police to discover Bianca's mother. This woman has no check-in record and no ID card, so she was taken back to the police station for interrogation. After receiving her mother's distress text, Bianca wanted to go to the police station to bail her out, but the principal ordered her not to leave without permission until she finished her work, and also send Orloff to supervise her nearby, because this professor's head is hidden in a jar, so the siren's ability has no effect on him. Upon hearing that Bianca's mother was in trouble, Ajax simply stepped in to help, petrifying the professor to buy Bianca time. After arriving at the police station, Bianca immediately used her siren magic.
You will drop this investigation, shred any paperwork, and forget you ever met my mother.
Ajax took them to the old classroom. Planning to hide Bianca's mother there, they heard the principal, who was hiding in this remote place, talking to someone on the phone. At this moment, Ajax's phone suddenly rang. The principal became aware of it. The three of them hurriedly hid in the dark. Meanwhile, Fairburn's assessment result also came out. In her years of practice, she has seen many mentally ill people, but it was the first time she had seen someone as neurotic as Fester, so she immediately gave the green light to admit him to Willow Hill. Fester was enjoying life in the hospital while looking for Louise. He fell in love at first sight with a suspected target. Fester followed the person to the back kitchen.
Lois? Oh, your name's Louise.
Let's go back to Wednesday's side. According to Agnes' investigation, that Augustus used to be a psychologist at Willow Hill Asylum. Before that, he also taught science at Nevermore. Unfortunately, later it's unknown what happened. Augustus actually lost his mind and was also locked up in Willow Hill. Wednesday immediately asked Thing to help pass a message, telling Uncle to keep an eye on Augustus again. This person may be the key to helping us find Louise. Enid saw that Wednesday had been always with Agnes lately, and couldn't help feeling a little jealous. She was about to have a good talk with Wednesday. Unexpectedly, a large group of crows suddenly pounced over. Among them, the one-eyed crow even took advantage of the chaos to carry off Thing, thanks to the principal's timely action of hitting the crow. Only then did Thing fall from mid-air and grab the statue. However, that stone statue was not strong enough. In the critical moment, Enid rushed over and caught Thing. Wednesday caught a glimpse of the cloaked figure upstairs, hurriedly rushed up, and chased him into a secret passage. The man in black quickly disappeared, leaving only a cloak behind. She walked into the classroom ahead and saw Dr. Fairburn. Wednesday suspected that she was the cloaked figure, but Dr. Fairburn explained that she came to the school because the music teacher agreed to teach at Willow Hill. As soon as she finished speaking, the music teacher came over carrying a tea tray. Wednesday noticed that she was a little out of breath, and looked like she had just finished exercising. Moreover, there were also a few birds kept in the music classroom. Could this music teacher be the cloaked figure who controls birds? Wednesday changed her mind and agreed to join the orchestra. Later, Fairburn prepared to go back to the hospital. Thing took the opportunity to get a ride and conveyed Wednesday's words to Uncle Fester. Find Augustus, and you can find Louise. Fester told the guard, I'm looking for a guy named Augustus. He won the bingo game yesterday and forgot to take the prize. The guard believed it and took Fester to find Augustus. He was sitting in a huge birdcage with a parrot lying on him. The guard asked Fester to do a favor, send Augustus back to room 103 in 10 minutes. Unexpectedly, this old man refused to speak. However, the parrot on his shoulder kept chattering non-stop.
Lois?
Shut your pie hole!
Excuse me?
Eat shit, Baldy!
In the end, the parrot couldn't stand the electric shock, and kept repeating a string of numbers, 51971. 10 minutes later, Fester pushed Augustus back to his room. He met Marilyn on the way. That woman recognized Fester's identity at a glance, but the latter didn't pay attention, because Augustus suddenly pointed at a door and kept saying Louise. The door had maintenance no entry written on it.
Fester planned to sneak in to find Louise. Little did he know that Marilyn turned around and revealed his true identity to Dr. Fairburn. Fairburn hated it most when others played tricks in Willow Hill, so he locked Fester up with the Slitherer. At the same time, Wednesday went to ask the professor about Augustus. She learned that he had a young daughter. He had even built a birdhouse for his daughter in Iago Tower before. This was indeed useful information. Then Thing ran back and told Wednesday about Fester being captured. Wednesday told him to go back to Willow Hill Asylum to keep an eye on Fester. She would find a way to get her uncle out. The music teacher was going to teach at Willow Hill tonight. She planned to use this opportunity to enter and exit freely. It was known that the music teacher's class lasted 45 minutes. Thing had contacted Fester's inside man, and would find out exactly where he was being held. At that time, Agnes would be in charge of distracting the guards. Wednesday would take the opportunity to rescue Fester and then look for Louise. Enid was unhappy when she heard that. Then what am I supposed to do? Do you still regard me as a friend after all? In fact, Wednesday just didn't want her to be in danger, but to appease Enid, she had to assign her a lookout job. If Wednesday was unfortunately caught, Enid could report anonymously to the sheriff. Everything went according to plan that night. Agnes blasted the guardroom's toilet and attracted everyone's attention. Meanwhile, Wednesday, who was hiding in the teacher's trunk, sneaked into the psychiatric hospital and successfully made contact with Ruiz, Fester's contact and lover. Wednesday hid in her work vehicle to enter the restricted area, and also stole a guard's ID card. She acted quickly and freed her uncle, but she didn't lock the door when leaving, causing the Slitherer to also break free from its chains and escape from the cell. He pounced on the guard who was escorting patients. Marilyn escaped in the chaos, and even met Wednesday on the way. The two exchanged a glance and went about their own business. Soon, the alarm interrupted the concert at Willow Hill. Fairburn immediately implemented the Level 4 security protocol, ordering the guards to subdue the Slitherer at all costs. At the same time, Fester and Wednesday came to that locked room. It turned out that the number the parrot had said was the password for the electronic lock. However, the room was empty except for a few cabinets. There were obvious scratches on the floor. Wednesday moved the filing cabinet aside and entered the dark room behind it. On the wall was written long-term outcast integration research. This was presumably the project Louise was in charge of. Down the stairs were several locked secret rooms, each holding different outcasts. They were all falsely reported as dead, and their ashes were faked. Their real bodies were actually locked in this basement, forced to undergo various live experiments. Galpin must have been worried that Tyler would encounter such a thing, which was why he and Carl conducted an in-depth investigation into Willow Hill. At this moment, the cloaked figure chased to the basement and finally revealed her true identity. She was actually the administrator of Willow Hill. From their conversation, it was learned that the administrator was actually Augustus' daughter Louise. She recruited Dr. Fairburn to act as the public face of the institution. In fact, she was the real person in power. Louise and her father conducted this secret research to transfer the superpowers of outcasts to ordinary people. Moreover, after so long of research, the father and daughter had achieved some results, which was why Louise could command crows. However, Augustus was too greedy. The power he wanted was unbearable for ordinary people's bodies. He lost his sanity and became increasingly insane. Wednesday didn't want to say more and signaled Fester to release lightning. The electrical circuits in Willow Hill failed instantly. All the electronic doors in the basement became ineffective. The imprisoned outcasts swarmed out and pounced on Louise. Only a thin woman huddled in the corner. For some reason, Wednesday cared about this patient and took her along when leaving. At this time, the entire psychiatric hospital was in complete chaos. Marilyn took the opportunity to find the key to release Tyler. Filled with hatred, Tyler transformed into an alien on the spot, and killed Marilyn with his own hands. All the patients in Willow Hill escaped from their wards. The Slitherer even broke into Dr. Fairburn's office for a feast. It successively mauled the doctor and Augustus to death. Wednesday escaped with the mysterious woman. Unexpectedly, she met Tyler on the way. She told the woman to leave first and stayed to deal with him. The next second, Wednesday was thrown out of the window, while Tyler ran into the forest under the police siege. At this point, Morticia was keeping watch by her daughter's bedside. Wednesday was still in a coma. Mr. Adams, worried that his wife was overworked, took her to rest first. Unexpectedly, as soon as the two left, Wednesday opened her eyes. Besides, she saw the former principal, Weems. From their conversation, we learn that Principal Weems became Wednesday's new spirit guide. Ordinarily, a spirit guide must be a family member, and Weems was actually Wednesday's 13th generation.
distant cousin, since she had already died in the previous season, she could only meet Wednesday in a vision. Weems shared the same view as Mrs. Morticia. Both believed that Wednesday lost her psychic abilities due to overusing them. Wednesday said, "If you can't help me regain my abilities, then stop wasting time here." After saying that, she woke up from the vision. At the same time, a press conference was being held inside Willow Hill Asylum. Louise, using the alias Judy, would temporarily serve as the director of Willow Hill. The power accident 2 weeks ago caused 46 patients to escape, and several deaths also happened. Now, with the help of the local police, they had arrested 43 of the escapees. These patients would be sent to other asylums, because Willow Hill Asylum might be completely closed soon. Sheriff Santiago pointed out that there were still 3 fugitives at large. Among them were Wednesday's uncle Fester and an unidentified patient. These people didn't yet know that the unidentified patient was the one Wednesday's brother Pugsley dug up from the ground. He even gave him a name, Slurp. The last one was Tyler, who was mentioned earlier. The sheriff repeatedly emphasized that these 3 were very dangerous. He urged the public to contact the police immediately if they saw any of them. Just then, the deputy sheriff sent a message saying that Wednesday had woken up. The sheriff turned to Louise, told her the news, and said, "I'm curious about the role Wednesday played in this incident." Naturally, Louise refused to reveal the truth and lied, saying that Wednesday just snuck in without permission to visit her uncle. It's hard to believe that an ordinary teenager could bypass the security system of Willow Hill Asylum. The sheriff was skeptical of her words. After all, Wednesday Addams wasn't ordinary at all. After dealing with Sheriff Santiago, Louise secretly called the hitman she hired. The hitman was currently hunting down all the outcasts who escaped from the secret laboratory. Now, only patient 1938 hadn't been found yet. The hitman couldn't help but feel confused. "From what I can tell, patient 1938 doesn't seem like the type to resist," he said. Louise said, "Not a single word about the underground laboratory can get out. Besides, you're being paid to do a job. Find patient 1938 as soon as possible." After ending the call, Louise went to Jericho General Hospital to visit Wednesday, who was preparing to be discharged. The tension between them was palpable as soon as they met. Wednesday said, "The sheriff will receive an anonymous tip, and they will search your secret underground laboratory." Louise didn't panic when she heard this. Now, the basement only has boxes of dusty documents. Her secrets have long been buried and hidden, where no one can find them. Louise came here to make sure Wednesday didn't die. Otherwise, I'll tell Sheriff Santiago exactly how Wednesday broke into Willow Hill Asylum illegally. At worst, we'll die together. Wednesday ignored Louise's threat and asked, "Who's patient 1938? Why didn't you issue a fake obituary for her alone? Why is this outcast so special?" Louise played dumb. "I don't know who you're talking about."
Seems like all your secrets aren't dead and buried.
As soon as Wednesday left the hospital room, she received a warning letter from Tyler. He threatened to kill Wednesday and Enid, then vanished into the crowd in the blink of an eye. On the other side, Bianca settled her mother in with Ajax's help. A fire broke out here last semester, and since then, students had been forbidden from walking in. Bianca reassured her mother that Gideon would never find this place. Let's give a brief explanation here. Bianca's mother was deceived and married Gideon, a cult leader. This man used her siren song to recruit followers. When Bianca was young, she always looked up to Gideon as a hero. Their bond was like that of a father and daughter, and they got along very well. It wasn't until later that Bianca realized Gideon was only grooming her. His goal was to make Bianca take her mother's place and continue being his puppet. On the other side, Wednesday returned to the dormitory and told Enid about Tyler's threat. She also hoped Enid would leave the school temporarily to avoid danger. Enid was deeply hurt when she heard this. She had clearly saved Wednesday the last time, yet Wednesday kept denying her abilities as a werewolf. Time and time again. Of course, Wednesday couldn't explain that. It was because she had a vision of Enid's death. She was afraid Enid would be scared if she found out. The two had a falling out because of this misunderstanding. With Day of the Dead approaching, the new principal had already arranged this year's events. According to past traditions, at midnight, the memorial parade would head to Nevermore Cemetery to pay tribute to all the academy's ancestors. Wednesday tried to persuade the principal to cancel tonight's celebration, as Tyler was still at large, but the principal had invited several prominent donors for tonight and would definitely not cancel the event on short notice. He reassured Wednesday, "Our school is full of outcasts ready to fight the Hyde, especially Professor Capri. She has a past with Hydes." After all, it turned out that Capri, the music teacher, had once dated a Hyde named Alfie. According to newspapers, Alfie was shot and killed after attacking Capri. Wednesday also found out that the two had met at an artist colony in Woodstock. Alfie was good at creating art in the style of violent
expressionism, but his life began to resemble his own artwork more and more. Wednesday was curious about what had caused Alfie to want to kill the music teacher. Now she needed to learn everything there was to know about hides, so she hoped the music teacher would tell her more. Capri explained, "As you know, all hides have a master. Alfie's master unluckily fell in love with him, so she took a dislike to me and ordered Alfie to kill me. Luckily, it was a full moon then, and the hide was relatively weak, so I managed to fight him off. But during the fight, Alfie accidentally killed his own master. You should know that when a male hide loses his master, he goes insane and becomes mentally deranged. He even experiences rapid multi-system decline, and eventually dies prematurely." Wednesday asked in return, "Has any hide ever taken a new master?" "Not that I know of," Capri replied. "Who would be reckless enough to approach a hide voluntarily? Something this dangerous should never be done." Judging by this, Wednesday seemed to be having thoughts about Tyler. At the same time, Pugsley was worrying at home. He was very concerned about the Slurp. Although the Slurp had done some bad things, Pugsley knew it was just hungry. A zombie's brain simply couldn't process overly complex information. Mr. Adams comforted his son, "Losing your first pet is really tough. How about this? I'll help you track down your zombie, and we'll turn this into an adventure for the two of us." Pugsley was overjoyed when he heard this. On the other side, as Capri had predicted, Tyler, having killed his own master, started having hallucinations. He kept seeing his deceased father. The hitman who was hunting patient 1938 had no idea Tyler was hiding nearby. He followed a trail of footprints into the sewage tunnel. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the water's surface, and the hitman instinctively fired several shots. He walked over to check, only to find it was a dummy. Immediately after, Tyler, transformed into a hide, ambushed him from behind. The heart-wrenching screams from inside the pipe attracted the Slurp from the woods. Like a vulture, it followed the smell of the dead into the underground tunnel to scavenge. It also accidentally found a photo of patient 1938. Wednesday returned to Rodwood Cabin and pored over the notes of Marilyn, Tyler's former master. When Morticia saw this, she warned her daughter not to do anything dangerous, but once Wednesday made up her mind, she wouldn't easily change it. At the same time, after calming down, Enid knew clearly that Wednesday was right. She couldn't defeat the hide with her strength alone, so Enid planned to restart the Nightshade Society. She also asked Thing to deliver invitations to the society members, arranging to meet them at Iago Tower at 10 p.m. As night fell, the town was filled with the atmosphere of Day of the Dead. Pugsley and his father wandered around the woods, but didn't spot the Slurp. Lured by the crowd on the street, the two decided to go join in the fun at Night of Terror 2. Little did they know, the Slurp was following them right behind, and came with them to the Day of the Dead celebration of mankind. Meanwhile, Sheriff Santiago found the hitman's body inside the underground pipe. The victim's brain had been sucked out of his skull, just like the driving instructor who died a tragic death last month, and the victims at Willow Hill Asylum, and the tear wounds on the hitman's body, were clearly inflicted by a hide. Could it be that Tyler was collaborating with a zombie? This underground pipe was only a few kilometers away from Nevermore. Sheriff Santiago believed Tyler was very likely to attack the academy tonight. She ordered all available police officers to go to Nevermore Academy and stand guard. At this point, Wednesday's biggest fan came to visit her idol.
I snuck into the hospital every day.
I got your hourly get wild cards.
Wednesday's biggest fan told Wednesday about Enid restarting the Nightshade Society, but this time, she didn't stop Enid's action. Instead, she prepared a plan. Wednesday didn't plan to kill Tyler, she wanted to control him. It turned out that Marilyn's notes mentioned a formula that could suppress the hide's abilities. Wednesday decided to take the risk and give it a try. She asked Thing to pry open Orloff's medicine cabinet and take out a substance called belladonna essence to prepare the formula. Weems advised Wednesday not to put herself in danger. The reason Marilyn was able to control Tyler was that she was calm and cautious enough. But you once had feelings for Tyler, even though they've now turned to hatred. Yet as long as there are emotions involved, it will affect your actions. Wednesday believed she could control everything, so she ignored Weems' warning. At the same time, the Slurp successfully snuck into Night of Terror. Since the haunted house was full of humans dressed as monsters, he didn't attract anyone's attention. By the time those people realized there was danger, the Slurp had already started a killing spree. The police quickly received an emergency call and had to leave the academy to go after the zombie, and Tyler took this opportunity to sneak into the academy. When Pugsley heard that a zombie had appeared at Night of Terror, he immediately realized it was the Slurp. He hurried to the haunted house to find his little pet, only to discover that the Slurp had begun to take on a human form, and could even speak and think. At this point, Sheriff Santiago led her team to surround the haunted house. Slurp was grateful to Pugsley for giving him a second chance at life,
so he begged Pugsley to let him go this once. He didn't want to waste this hard-earned opportunity. Shortly after, Mr. Adams, who was outside the door, saw the slurp slip away through the back door. Pugsley walked out of the haunted house with his hands up, and told the sheriff there was no one else inside. He also lied to his father, saying he hadn't found the slurp. Adams didn't expose his son's lie. Morticia, having changed her clothes, was about to ask someone to prepare the car for the memorial parade, but when she turned around, she saw patient 1938, or rather, we should call her Francoise, Tyler's biological mother. She begged Morticia to help her find her son.
I know he's heading for Nevermore. In that case, I know who he's after.
At this point, the parade procession at Nevermore was moving forward. Tyler, wearing a cloak, blended in among them. The Nightshade Society waited in the shadows for an opportunity. As soon as things spotted Tyler, it signaled to Wednesday. According to the plan, they first had to force Tyler to transform into the hide. Enid acted as bait to lure him out of the crowd, and together with the Nightshade Society members, she pressured Tyler to transform. Wednesday clenched the syringe, ready to act, but Tyler noticed her immediately. He knocked Wednesday aside and tried to kill Enid. In the nick of time, Wednesday said, "I was indeed attracted to you once, and there's only one way for us to be together again." After saying that, Wednesday held up the syringe in her hand, but Francoise suddenly rushed in and knocked her son aside. If Morticia hadn't stopped her in time, she might have killed Wednesday. Francoise took Tyler and left the school. Morticia made a deal with her. Francoise promised to control Tyler and take her son away from Jericho forever. The words of a hide might not be trustworthy, but Morticia was willing to believe a mother. Day of the Dead finally came to an end. Adams hurried to find his wife and told her, "The zombie our son is keeping is Isaac." It seemed there was an untold past between these people. At this point, Isaac arrived at Louise's house. More and more mysteries began to surface. Wednesday was asked to go to the principal's office, and Sheriff Santiago was there too. They were shocked to hear that a second hide had appeared. Wasn't Tyler's mother supposed to have been dead for 15 years? Wednesday explained that the Augustus father and daughter had faked Francoise's death. They had even conducted various human experiments in the basement of Willow Hill Asylum. The sheriff sighed, realizing that this explained why Louise had suddenly disappeared. She was upset that Wednesday had hidden information and wanted to arrest her on charges of aiding and abetting a murderer, but Wednesday ordered the police to leave the school and all go to Night of Terror to rescue ordinary people, leaving the safety of the outcasts behind. If this news blew up, it would look bad for the police station too. Since Tyler and his mother had promised to leave, it would be better to let this matter end here. The principal decided to impose a school-wide curfew to ensure the smooth running of the upcoming fundraiser, but Weems had to remind Wednesday that her visions hadn't changed. Enid would still die. You need to know that the Addams family's psychic abilities aren't just hereditary, they are intricately tied to Wednesday's family bonds. Therefore, the growing estrangement between Wednesday and her mother would also affect her abilities to some extent. The Addams family lineage had always drawn strength from the unity of its members, whether Wednesday liked it or not. She had to repair her relationship with her mother. Wednesday wanted to argue a little more, but was interrupted by the science professor. She took the opportunity to ask the professor about Francoise, but she learned that Francoise had a younger brother named Isaac, who was exactly the slurp that Pugsley had revived. According to the professor, Isaac was the school's most outstanding Da Vinci. This doesn't refer to Da Vinci himself here. Instead, it refers to a Da Vinci-type outcast, someone with extraordinary talent and wisdom. Across multiple fields, the life support system that the science professor relied on was created by Isaac. Isaac was very close to Professor Augustus. The latter even built a secret laboratory for Isaac in Iago Tower. Only an explosion destroyed the laboratory. Isaac's body was never found either. There was also a legend in the school that he was buried under the skull tree. Upon hearing this, Wednesday thought, wasn't her brother's pet dug up from under the skull tree? She immediately went to the dormitory to find Pugsley. The boy was helping Eugene sell answers to the math test. Wednesday chased away the onlookers and demanded to know where the zombie had gone. Pugsley admitted bluntly, "I saw him at Night of Terror, but the slurp has left." Wednesday told her biggest fan to dig up all the information related to Isaac.
Your heart is as soft as your skull. Can your pea-brain remember anything else?
Pugsley pulled out the photo of patient 1938 and said the slurp had dropped this. At the sight of it, Wednesday wondered, could it be that Isaac was looking for his sister? On the other side, Francoise locked Tyler up in bed. She seemed very neurotic and even had severe violent tendencies. It was clear that the two hadn't left the town, as they had promised. During this critical period, another accident happened to Enid. She actually transformed without a full moon, and Professor Capri happened to see it.
This meant Enid might be an alpha werewolf. This type of werewolf is very rare and powerful, but there has always been a saying among werewolves that alpha werewolves will become lone wolves. Professor Capri comforted her, telling her not to overthink it. There were many misconceptions outside, and they shouldn't worry too much for now. Wednesday still didn't know that her friend was in trouble. She took Francoise's photo and went to ask her grandmother for help. In tracking down Francoise's whereabouts, Grandma could tell that Wednesday was deeply troubled by her inability to regain her powers, so she pointed out a clear path for Wednesday. The cabin where Morticia now lived once belonged to a professor named Rosalind Rotwood. She used to teach runes and ancient cryptography at Nevermore. Her psychic abilities were truly extraordinary. Even her tombstone after death was imbued with dark energy. If Wednesday could recite the inscription under the tombstone, she might be able to temporarily regain her psychic abilities. That night, Wednesday packed her things and prepared to go to Nevermore Cemetery. Enid hurried to stop her. If Wednesday was caught breaking curfew, the whole dorm would be banned from attending the fundraiser. Enid had been rehearsing for the dance performance for weeks, and she absolutely couldn't lose the opportunity because of Wednesday's violation. She hoped Wednesday could put herself in others' shoes.
Have you ever put yourself in someone else's shoes just to see how they felt?
My shoes are filled with broken glass and razor blades. You'd bleed out after 2 steps.
Shortly after Wednesday left, thing came to report that Professor Capri was checking each dorm one by one. Worried about losing the chance to attend the gala, Enid immediately went to the cemetery to find Wednesday. By this time, Wednesday had already met Professor Rosalind through the inscription. After learning why Wednesday had come, Rosalind lit a cluster of candles. As long as Wednesday could stand the pain of being burned by the flames, she could temporarily regain her psychic abilities. But be careful.
If you can't hold on and move your hand away, you will interrupt the crows. Gaze and pay the price for it. Wednesday was just about to find out where Tyler was, when she was interrupted by Enid, who had caught up. When both of them regained consciousness, something terrible happened. It wasn't just a simple case of swapping shoes, the two had swapped whole souls. Weems pointed out that Wednesday must have interrupted the crow's gaze, and thus received this punishment.
Oh my god, oh my god!
Watching my body contort to your emotional outbursts is making me queasy.
For now, the two must keep the secret, and find a way to swap their bodies back. Wednesday told Enid not to cause trouble, and to stay alone as much as possible. She would go to the tomb again to ask Rosalind for help, but their personalities are truly worlds apart, so from anyone's perspective, their behavior was as absurd as if they had taken the wrong medicine. Wednesday even took down Enid's boyfriend with a shoulder throw. Morticia also noticed that her daughter was acting strange today, but she still invited her to come to the cabin for a family dinner. Tonight, Morticia had already talked to the principal, so it wouldn't count as violating the curfew. At the same time, Weems stopped Wednesday, who was about to recite the inscription, because she found that before Wednesday, 2 other unlucky people had also tried to summon Rosalind, but both of them died within 24 hours, so Wednesday would not only be responsible for Enid's early death, but might also cause her own death. Isaac was hiding in Tyler's father's house. This place had already been blocked off by the police, so no one would approach it at all. He found an entrance to a secret room under the doghouse in the yard. When he went inside, he unexpectedly found his sister and Tyler. Francoise never thought she would see her brother again. She told Isaac that Professor Augustus had stolen his notes. He even copied the machine you designed at Willow Hill Asylum, hoping to transfer outcasts' abilities to ordinary people. Now his daughter had taken over this work, and was still sending people to track me down. Upon hearing this, Isaac took out Louise's ID badge. He said, "You don't have to worry about this problem anymore. I've already dealt with Louise." But Francois's physical condition wasn't optimistic. Isaac said, "As long as we can find that machine, I have a way to save you." But before that, he needed to go to Nevermore to visit an old friend. On the other side, the upset Wednesday went to the music room to play the cello. Capri was shocked. "I thought only Wednesday could play the cello. Anyway, we still need to talk about your current situation. As a potential alpha werewolf, you will face additional risks during the first lunar cycle." Upon hearing this, Wednesday realized why Enid had been acting strange lately. It turned out Enid was a potential alpha werewolf. Capri suggested that Enid enter the werewolf cage before sunset, to prevent any accidents. Wednesday caught a glimpse of Rosalind's portrait hanging on the wall, and had a sudden idea to go to Rotwood cabin. She fumbled around in the house and indeed found a hidden door. The Rosalind statue inside immediately grabbed Wednesday.
To reclaim your own flesh, you must be willing to die in this borrowed skin. You have until dawn to unravel the innermost secrets of the life you've stepped into.
Meanwhile, to deal with the family gathering tonight, Enid decided to sneak a look at Wednesday's novel, to get to know her better, so she wouldn't give herself away in front of the Addams family. But Enid soon found a character named Evelyn in the novel, who was modeled after her. Wednesday wrote in it that Evelyn was a trend-chasing, rainbow-loving social media addict. Even though she had werewolf abilities, she was weak both physically and mentally. This completely infuriated Enid. She swore to embarrass Wednesday, so, in Wednesday's body, she dug out the flashiest clothes to put on, then rushed into a crowd and started singing and dancing. Everyone at the academy looked as if they'd seen a ghost, and took photos of Wednesday's embarrassing behavior. What's more, this body actually had a color allergy. Soon after, it broke out in a red rash all over, because of Enid's fashion taste. As for Wednesday, after seeing this scene, she went to find Enid's werewolf boyfriend, only to find that he was actually cheating. Wednesday immediately broke up with him and Enid's identity, but right after saying that, she was called away by Professor Capri. Professor Capri told her to hurry into the werewolf cage. After the two left, Wednesday's biggest fan dropped her invisibility, and cheerfully went to tell Wednesday what had happened. She said that after Enid broke up with Bruno, Capri had locked her into the werewolf cage. Besides that, she also accidentally revealed Wednesday's visions, letting Enid know that she was in danger. She told Wednesday to dump Enid as dead weight.
You're just a sycophantic loser that I use from time to time when it's convenient. But we're not friends. I don't even like you. In fact, I wish you would just stay invisible. Forever!
The injured superfan fled the dormitory to attend this Searching for Wholeness amputee support group. Thing was a member of this support group. Although the superfan wasn't an amputee, she also struggled with a lack of self-identity, so she could only come here to seek comfort. On the other side, Enid went to the cabin with a heavy heart to attend the Addams family gathering, but this family's unconventional eating habits were really quite nauseating.
Remind me what this is again?
Darling, don't you recognize your favorite family dish?
Roadkill pot pie.
The Addams family excitedly introduced that this was a possum that had been run over twice by a reversing car. Its meat is very tender, and Lurch even specially added a bit of dead raccoon to it to make the taste more delicious. After introducing this delicious dish, the conversation turned to the main topic. The Addams family has never advocated mainstream values, but not lying to each other among family members is the bottom line, so they gave the two children a chance to confess the secrets they had been hiding recently. Pugsley was the first to admit that he had let the slurp go. Enid didn't want to face any punishment.
Do I get the rack or Iron Maiden?
We'll flip for it.
Luckily, Weem's spirit appeared just in time and explained the whole story to Morticia. At this point, the real Wednesday was probably locked in the werewolf cage and wouldn't be let out until morning. But Rosalind's final ultimatum was that the swap must be corrected before dawn, and no one else could interfere. Enid and Wednesday had to work together to save themselves. On the other side, Isaac went to the academy to find the science teacher. He took the core sphere from the teacher's life support device. But a brilliant mind like the science teacher's was certainly not something Isaac would waste. The superfan was about to come over to thank the teacher for hosting the support group, only to catch Isaac gnawing on the teacher's brain. She screamed and quickly turned invisible. The superfan followed Isaac and hid in the trunk of the car, beside Louise's body. Wanting to find out what these people were up to, Enid went to let Wednesday out and explained that she already knew about the visions. Just then, the superfan called Wednesday and said, "I know you don't see me as a friend, but I found Tyler and Isaac." After the superfan finished speaking, a location message came through, so Wednesday and Enid hurried to rescue her. At this point, Isaac had inserted the core sphere into the machine in the underground laboratory. If he could remove the part of the Hyde gene from his sister's body, he could stop her from dying. Tyler suddenly sensed the presence of a stranger, so he relied on his Hyde instinct to catch the superfan. Isaac told Tyler to lock her up first. After the operation was done, he needed to eat some snacks to regain his energy. When Wednesday arrived at the underground laboratory, Isaac had already activated the machine. Wednesday took advantage of the distraction to go rescue the superfan. Enid also rushed over to take on Tyler, but she was no match for the Hyde's strength. In her excitement, Wednesday tapped into the werewolf instinct of Enid's body. Tyler locked her in a cell. Meanwhile, the superfan quickly turned invisible and shut down the machine, which caused the equipment to malfunction and spark wildly. Tyler went to get revenge on the superfan. Unexpectedly, Wednesday, who had fully transformed into a werewolf, broke through the door and grabbed him by the throat. Tyler was about to transform into his Hyde form, but he heard his mother tell him to control himself and not transform. Enid also hurried to remind Wednesday that now wasn't the time and they had to leave quickly. Upon hearing this, Wednesday dropped Tyler and left. Because the machine was about to explode, Tyler also fled with his mother and uncle. At this point, Wednesday had already returned to her human form from her werewolf state. This swap had mended the relationship between her and Enid. When the superfan learned that the person who had spoken harshly to her wasn't actually Wednesday, she instantly perked up. As dawn was about to break, the two returned to Rosalind's tombstone and, as required, revealed to each other the deepest secrets of their new bodies. Enid confessed, "I admire your fearlessness the most. I also understand that you're afraid your mom will never accept the real you, which is why you push her away." As for Wednesday, she also honestly admitted that she had underestimated Enid's strength. Moreover, she told Enid, "You never have to worry about becoming a lone wolf. You also don't have to try to please people who don't deserve it at all, because I won't let that happen." As soon as she finished speaking, dawn rose, and the two successfully returned to their own bodies. Unluckily, before Wednesday could even catch her breath, Weems came over and said, "Although the premonition of Enid's death has disappeared, but your actions today have put another life in danger."
And atoms must die. The question is, which one?
15 years ago, in Crescendo, Florida, there was a bar called Mermaid's Tale, which used live siren performances as a gimmick to attract customers. Back then, Principal Barry Dort of Nevermore Academy was just the agent of the siren Gabrielle, an unknown nobody. One day, he recognized that the bartender was a TV star, and a very talented one at that. He immediately went over to strike up a conversation, and learned that the man's name was Arnold Hunt. Dort was very curious. How could someone as talented and charming as Arnold, someone who could charm all of Hollywood, end up working as a bartender in a small bar? Arnold explained, "I went to Los Angeles and tried my best. I even played a recurring role, Dr. Gideon Sterling, in a soap opera called Medical Affairs." Does the name Gideon sound familiar? That's right. He would later become the leader of the Crescendo. This role made Arnold somewhat famous, but soon, the writers killed off his character, and after that, his career took a nosedive. He had to move back to his hometown to work and make money. Dort, acting like a shifty marketing guru, immediately told Arnold, "You're in luck, because I have an opportunity that's perfect for you." Dort had seen many lost outcasts during his travels. He had an idea to help these people cheer up, and wanted to create a place where like-minded people could gather, follow a shared vision, and pursue enlightenment and growth. Arnold joked, "That sounds like a cult." Dort wasn't angry, but instead of cult, he preferred to use the word movement. Dort had even developed a complete business plan, and written a handbook for it, about how to create a better life. Yet he had enough self-awareness to know that his own appearance couldn't convince anyone, and that he wasn't fit to be a charismatic, persuasive figure. But Dort had seen Arnold perform on stage, and knew he had that indescribable star quality. If the two of them teamed up, they could definitely accomplish something big. Arnold was indeed persuaded by Dort, so he asked if Dort had already come up with a name for this movement.
"How about Morning Song? Because every dawn brings the light of a new day."
From then on, Arnold became active under the name of Gideon. At this point, Principal Dort picked up the newspaper. It reported that the cult leader had been spotted in Vermont recently. He raised his hand to put out the fire in the fireplace, and entered the place where Bianca's mother was hiding through a secret passage. After being found out, the latter was about to apologize.
"No need, Bianca. Your mother and I go back a long way. Don't we, Gabrielle?"
The world is truly terrifyingly small. Dort already hated that the two of them ruined Crescendo's plan, and now he would definitely take this opportunity to blackmail them. At the same time, due to the science teacher's brutal death, the police had been collecting evidence at the school, but Dort had no intention of canceling the fundraiser at all. He even wanted to lie to the outside world that this was just an unlucky classroom accident. Sheriff Santiago really couldn't let the news of zombies wandering around leak out, but she insisted on leaving her deputy to take charge of campus security. But Enid, Wednesday, and the others knew very well that Santiago and her men were no match for the Hyde at all. Besides, to ensure her family's safety, Wednesday had to strike first. Her superfan helped her get information about Isaac. Unexpectedly, Wednesday's father turned out to be Isaac's roommate, even a very close friend. Back then, Adams tried to protect Isaac from people who wanted to exploit his genius ideas, such as Professor Augustus, but the latter built a laboratory for Isaac in Iago Tower, and easily bribed this gifted student. Augustus believed that Isaac was the key to unlocking the secret of Outcast's abilities, but Isaac had his own plan. He believed he could use science to extract Francoise's Hyde abilities. Wednesday bluntly said that Isaac was no longer a brainless zombie, and that he had already reunited with Francoise. They hadn't left the town as promised at all. More importantly, Wednesday's premonition had changed. The person who would die was no longer Enid, but a member of the Addams family. At the same time, the werewolf Bruno caught up with Enid and explained that he indeed had a girlfriend back in his hometown, but before coming to study at Nevermore, the two had decided to take a temporary break. Bruno thought he would join a new werewolf pack here. He had planned to just date casually, but he couldn't help falling in love with Enid. Last night, he finally mustered up the courage to break up with his hometown girlfriend. He hoped to win back Enid's trust and go to the fundraiser with her. Upon hearing this, Enid was slightly moved, but before she could respond, she was called away by Professor Capri. Professor Capri angrily questioned her. Why did you escape from the werewolf cage last night? Do you know the full moon is in 2 days? If a young alpha werewolf transforms under the full moon, there's a high chance they will remain in werewolf form permanently, and permanently transformed alpha werewolves will be hunted down by other werewolves. It's a form of self-regulation, of course, if Enid follows the precautions and locks herself in the werewolf cage before sunset, she should be fine. After hearing this, Enid was very worried. On the other side, Francoise was wiping her brother's mechanical heart, while Tyler was packing his luggage nearby. Since you won't let me kill Wednesday, we have to leave Jericho. But Isaac would never leave. The only thing he cared about was saving his sister. Francoise had been coughing up blood frequently lately. The medicine she brought from Willow Hill had also run out, so they definitely couldn't leave Jericho at this time. Wednesday understood this too, so she took thing to search Tyler's house for any clues that could lead to their hiding place. Meanwhile, Weems held a photo of Tyler's family inside. All Francoise wanted was a normal life, and she had even briefly had a taste of it once. Just then, Thing hurried back. It had found a basement hidden under the doghouse, but Isaac's family was out looking for medicine and wasn't inside, which Wednesday deduced from the empty medicine bottles on the floor. Thing also found a blood-stained handkerchief, and all signs showed that Francoise didn't have much time left. Suddenly, a New England corpse moth flew onto Thing. Wednesday caught it and gave it to Eugene. Eugene had a few more of the same moths in his dorm. These had been stuck to Slurp since they were larvae, and Eugene had picked them off with tweezers and raised them. They were about to enter the migration period, and would do whatever it takes to return to their host's body to lay eggs. It's worth noting that insects' navigation systems are far better than Google Maps. Pugsley couldn't help but beg his sister to spare Slurp. It was his only friend. Wednesday ignored her overly sentimental brother and told Eugene to release the corpse moths from the breeding box, hoping the little creatures would track down Isaac. Bianca was on her way to the fundraiser committee when Ajax hurried over to stop her. I went to see your mom, he said, but she was gone. Bianca couldn't admit she was being blackmailed by the principal, so she lied, saying there were too many police patrolling the school, so her mom had moved to another place, and told Ajax not to bother with it anymore. As soon as Wednesday went back to the dorm, she saw her grandma reading her novel. Wednesday was curious why her grandma had come to the school. Grandma explained, Dort offered me exorbitant terms to curry favor, just to get me to donate to your mother's fundraiser. The better the terms he offered, the more obsequious and earnest his pleas became. Grandma wanted to watch the principal's expression up close after being rejected. She loved seeing the moment when someone's spirit crumbles more than anything. After saying that, Grandma headed to the principal's office, and Dort had indeed made thorough preparations, for example, building a building named after her, Frump Hall, and specifically establishing a school of mortuary science to train future funeral directors, embalmers, and funeral service supervisors. The school would also renovate the campus cemetery using Frump brand tombstones and replace the existing orchard with a body farm. Even Grandma couldn't help but exclaim, no one has ever catered to me this professionally before. But flattery is like formaldehyde, you can only smell it, not swallow it, so I won't give a single cent to this dump. Unexpectedly, the principal didn't get angry after hearing this. He just called for Bianca to come in. Bianca immediately used her siren song to hypnotize Frump. You will leave all your property to Nevermore, and present this decision to your family and the whole world, without arousing any suspicion. You will also attend the fundraiser as a distinguished guest. Once I snap my fingers, you will no longer remember that I was ever here. Bianca snapped her fingers and left with Frump. Meanwhile, Morticia was overseeing the progress of the dinner party. Weems came over to complain, your mother is taking advantage of the rift between you and your daughter to win Wednesday over, and you haven't even told Wednesday the truth about your real relationship with Francoise and Isaac. Don't let this ruin the family you've spent your whole life trying to protect. Tell her the truth before it's too late. While the two were talking, Isaac and Tyler knocked out a veterinarian and dragged Francoise into the clinic. Isaac explained that the medicine given to her by Willow Hill Asylum could suppress Francoise's high gene, thereby extending her life. But Francoise had forced herself to transform to save Tyler. which had worsened her condition, Isaac told Tyler to roll up his sleeves and first transfuse his hide blood to his sister. Afterwards, Tyler lost too much blood and passed out for several hours. When he woke up, he saw that his mother's condition had improved a lot. As for his uncle, having eaten the veterinarian's brain, he looked absolutely radiant now. He declared that he would not only save his sister, but also make the Addams family pay for their sins. On the other side, Enid told Wednesday all about the risks of being an alpha werewolf. The only thing that made her happy now was that Capri had made an exception and agreed to let her finish her dance performance before going back to the cage, and she knew that even if she turned into a werewolf, Wednesday would find a way to track her down. Just then, Ajax hurried over and asked if they had heard of Gideon. Bianca might have gotten into trouble. The clever Ajax believed that Principal Dort was also involved. Upon hearing this, Wednesday told him not to say anything yet. Since Dort thinks we're kept in the dark, we might as well go with the flow and wait for the right moment to deliver a knockout blow. Shortly after, Wednesday found out about her grandma's plan to donate money. She knew Frump better than anyone. Frump wasn't the kind of person who liked doing charity. Wednesday immediately went to the fencing club to find Bianca. She could have guessed with her toes that her grandma had been hypnotized by the siren.
Dort is blackmailing you and your mother, isn't he? That's why you siren-songed my grandmother.
Wednesday bluntly said, "My grandma would burn money as firewood before she donates a single cent to anyone." With things having come to this, Bianca had no choice but to admit the truth. "My stepfather Gideon is just a figurehead. The real leader of Crescendo was Principal Dort." But Bianca didn't believe Wednesday could help, so she used her siren song to order Wednesday to forget their conversation just now. But Bianca didn't know Wednesday had a sidekick. In her invisible state, the superfans saw everything and told Wednesday every word of the conversation, but Wednesday was still annoyed with her for the perverted act of stealing and wearing her clothes. At the same time, Dort took Bianca to meet Gideon, but Gideon had already been discovered by the FBI, and his appearance and identity had long been exposed. Now he just wanted to get the money he deserved, and then quit Crescendo for good. But Gideon seriously underestimated Dort. He was just a puppet, and if Dort could build up one, he could certainly build up another. In the evening, the fundraising dinner was held as scheduled. The theme of the party was a last-century masquerade ball, and everyone attending had to dress up elaborately. Dort and Frump even made their entrance on a fancy, over-the-top boat. As soon as the performance ended, the two would sign the contract. At this point, Wednesday stopped Bianca and asked, "Where did Dort hide your mom?" Bianca was first surprised. "How do you still remember all that?" Then resigned herself to telling the truth. She was hidden in Dort's apartment. On the other side, Bruno's ex-girlfriend from his hometown had followed him to school. Upset about their breakup, Enid deeply realized that she had to give up this relationship. She couldn't be the villain in this story, so she took the initiative to step back and stay away from Bruno. But sadness was inevitable. Just as Enid was moping alone, she heard the superfans sobbing. It was obvious Wednesday had broken her heart. Although Enid had held prejudices against her before, the incident where the superfan helped save people at the asylum was enough to prove she was actually a good person, just a bit stubborn.
If you're tired of being invisible, stop hiding in other people's personalities. Be your own psycho, Agnes.
Agnes took off the wig she wore to mimic Wednesday, and also shed the innocent label of superfan. As for Enid, because of Bruno's betrayal, she couldn't perform the duet dance at the party, having wasted weeks of practice for nothing. Upon hearing this, Agnes volunteered, "I can dance with you." There was no helping it. Her instinct to peek and stalk had led Agnes to secretly learn their dance moves. Outside the dinner party, Eugene held a glass jar, waiting for the corpse moths to return. Pugsley also stepped away from his family to get some air. After all, his parents and grandma didn't care about him at all. Pugsley left the party sadly, unaware that Isaac on the second floor was watching everything. At the same time, Ajax found the key to the principal's office and rescued Gabrielle, who was locked in the apartment. Finally, the party reached the climax of the dance performance. Enid and Agnes, like two little cakes, jointly delivered the most delightful performance. They caught everyone's attention, making it easy for Wednesday to act. She told Thing to steal Dort's pocket watch. Without this item to protect him, Dort wouldn't be able to resist the siren song. When Bianca, as the party coordinator, took the stage to speak, Wednesday gave her the signal that the trouble was resolved. Bianca understood and invited the principal to the stage.
Tell everyone exactly how this gala came together. Tell everyone.
The principal exposed all his own misdeeds. After he regained consciousness, he immediately held Bianca hostage.
The chandelier above crashed down and smashed Dort to a pulp. This dinner party that ended with a destructive death finally moved Frump. She agreed to donate a sum of money to Morticia, but Weems suddenly appeared with a solemn expression. Shortly after, Eugene came back holding the butterfly jar, saying that Isaac was near Nevermore Cemetery. Upon hearing this, everyone realized with a start that Pugsley was nowhere to be found. At this point, Isaac approached Pugsley very gracefully, and knocked him unconscious with a handkerchief soaked in knockout drug. When Wednesday hurried over, the person was already gone. There was one question she couldn't figure out. No matter how hard she thought, if Isaac's goal was to save Francoise, why would he kidnap Pugsley? Sheriff Santiago had already sent out police to search, but Isaac was no ordinary kidnapper. Weems pointed out that only by combining the efforts of Wednesday, Morticia, and Frump would they possibly be able to find Pugsley's location. Affected by her family's ability, Wednesday saw a vision again. But this vision wasn't from the future, it was from the past. She saw her mom and dad working together to bury a person's body under the skull tree. Needless to say, that body must have been Isaac's. Now, Morticia had to confess the truth. On the night Isaac had his accident, both she and Adams were in the laboratory at Iago Tower. Isaac was certain that his machine could permanently cure Francoise, to ensure his sister would never again live, in fear of turning into a hide. But the machine needed a huge amount of energy to operate, so Isaac turned to his best friend, Wednesday's father, Adams. Back then, Adams was as full of energy as Pugsley was now. He was happy to be able to help his good friend, but Isaac lied to him. Driving the machine required far more than just a little spark. Isaac planned to sacrifice Adams to save his sister's life. He had even dug a grave for Adams in advance, under the skull tree. Luckily, Morticia arrived at the scene just in time. She destroyed Isaac's machine, triggering a massive explosion in the clock tower laboratory. Francoise survived the explosion, but Isaac didn't. Besides, that experiment caused Adams to lose his outcast abilities forever. Afterwards, Augustus threatened Morticia and Adams, "If you dare to say a word, I'll report you for murder." So Morticia and Adams threw Isaac's body into the grave, under the skull tree, completely covering up the secret. It was clear from this, that Isaac was now kidnapping Pugsley to use him as the power source for the new machine, to repeat the experiment that had been left unfinished back then. Morticia hoped that Wednesday would stay out of it this time. She would take care of this unfinished business by herself. But now that Wednesday knew about it, she wouldn't just stand by and do nothing. On the other side, Bruno had reconciled with his hometown girlfriend. Enid still couldn't help but feel sad. Unexpectedly, Ajax came over to comfort her. Although they couldn't be a couple, they could still be good friends. As for Agnes, her way of comforting was even more straightforward.
I put together a list of potential boyfriends. I already cross-referenced them based on compatible social media profiles. Once you've narrowed it down, I can pay each one an invisible visit.
But after 2 failed relationships, Enid didn't want to be in a relationship for the time being. At the same time, Isaac tied Pugsley up, using it as revenge for Pugsley having treated him like a pet before. Meanwhile, following Isaac's orders, Tyler left traces of the hide 32 kilometers to the north. He also left behind Pugsley's party gown as a decoy. This would temporarily distract the pursuing police. Next, it would be time to lure Wednesday into the scene.
Never sacrifice one of their own, not even a pawn. And that emotional weakness will be our checkmate.
Wednesday knew better than anyone that Tyler must be eager to lure her out, but she wouldn't back down. Although Agnes was eager to stay and help, the school year had come to an end. Her dad came to the school early to pick her up in person, so Agnes could only say goodbye to everyone first. As for Enid, she must also stay put in the werewolf cage, otherwise, Professor Capri would definitely come and catch her in person. Wednesday promised to let Enid out early tomorrow morning. Next, she went to find Eugene and asked, "How much longer will it be before the corpse moths can take off?" Unluckily, corpse moths only have a 36-hour lifespan. I'm afraid they won't be able to help this time. Besides, Eugene also wanted to apologize. He shouldn't have rejected Pugsley's offer of friendship, otherwise, Pugsley wouldn't have run off to be friends with a dead zombie. After saying that, Eugene went to the Hummerbee Club shed to help his bees get through the hibernation period earlier, but Isaac launched a surprise attack. Meanwhile, Santiago found Wednesday and said that hikers had found Pugsley's gown. She was going to redeploy the search area, changing it from Jericho to Burlington.
Sounds like a ploy to draw you off the real scent.
I follow evidence, not hunches.
After the sheriff finished speaking, she left with her blind confidence. Meanwhile, Eugene came over holding a box and said, "I ran into Isaac.
He told me to pass this to you. Wednesday opened the box and saw, it was a skull tree snow globe. The dark base had midnight written on it. Obviously, it was inviting her to meet at the Skull Grove at midnight. That night, Wednesday didn't show up rashly. Instead, she found an excellent and hidden shooting spot. She told Thing to wait for the right moment and shoot an arrow through Isaac's zombie head. After making arrangements for a backup plan, Wednesday went to face Isaac, and she bluntly said that Willow Hill Asylum and Iago Tower, the two places with the machines, had both been destroyed. Rebuilding would take at least a few months, and no matter what, your sister is beyond saving. As soon as the words left her mouth, Thing shot the arrow, but Isaac reached out and blocked the arrow. Shortly after, Thing was also caught by Tyler.
Except he's never been yours. He's mine.
It turns out Thing is Isaac's right hand. As a Doberman outcast, the right hand is the most creative tool. The night the clock tower exploded, Morticia cut off Isaac's right hand. But for some reason, a power surge gave his hand life. At this point, Isaac placed Thing on his severed arm, then needles and thread flew out of his pocket to reattach the severed limb.
Now I am complete.
Having regained his right hand, Isaac restored his abilities as an outcast. Tonight, he was going to end the Addams family's lives. Isaac threw Wednesday into a grave, and countless vines crawled onto her body, binding her tightly to the bottom of the pit. Dirt quickly buried Wednesday, in the nick of time. It was Agnes who spotted this scene. It seemed she hadn't gone home compliantly with her father. After meeting up with his sister, Isaac went to Iago Tower together with her. Agnes, on the other hand, went to the werewolf cage to ask Enid for help. Telling her that Wednesday had been buried by Isaac under the skull tree, Enid hurried to follow Agnes to save Wednesday. But Wednesday's heartbeat was very weak, and at this rate, it would be hard to dig her out. Enid glanced at the full moon in the sky. She was willing to take the risk of not being able to revert to human form to transform, if only to prevent Wednesday from dying like this. Enid transformed into a werewolf and saved her good friend, but panic came belatedly like a tide. She darted into the woods and fled. Wednesday immediately told Agnes to keep up with Enid. Mr. and Mrs. Addams arrived shortly after. They needed to stop the disaster from happening as soon as possible, because with his right hand back, repairing the ruins of the tower was incredibly easy for Isaac now. Wednesday couldn't understand why Morticia hadn't told her the truth about Thing. Morticia explained that it was because Thing had no memories of Isaac at all.
I like to think whatever trace of goodness was in Isaac somehow ended up in Thing.
Except now he's reattached to Isaac and he's about to kill your son.
Morticia told her husband, who had no outcast abilities, to first go find Sheriff Santiago to get reinforcements. She herself took her daughter to deal with Isaac. After more than 30 years, Pugsley was tied to the same spot where his father had been back then. But the next second, Isaac tied Tyler to the operating table instead. It turned out that Francoise was willing to give up the chance to be a normal person to her own biological son, and Isaac would never go against Francoise's wishes. Isaac activated the machine, ready to drain Pugsley of his energy. Wednesday told her mom to distract them, then quietly approached Tyler. Tyler didn't want to get rid of his hide powers at all. He even told Wednesday to just kill him, but at the last minute, Wednesday only cut off the iron cuffs on Tyler. Then she went to remove the equipment from her brother. Tyler quickly transformed into his hide form, lifted Isaac up, and threw him down the stairs. Francois stared at Tyler in disbelief.
I haven't enjoyed a mother-son relationship like this since Psycho.
Tyler and his mother both transformed into hides and fought each other. Wednesday and her mother saved her brother, then smashed the machine. But she didn't leave right away, because Thing was still on Isaac. But before Wednesday could bring her axe down, the machine malfunctioned and exploded violently, reenacting the tragedy from 30 years ago. The two hides also fell from the clock tower. Due to the explosion, luckily, they reacted quickly and grabbed the edge of the building. At this point, Tyler calmed down and tried to grab his mother, but Francoise had already lost her will to live. She let go voluntarily and ended her life. When Sheriff Santiago arrived, she saw Francoise's body right away. On the other side, the Addams family woke up from their unconsciousness. Having lost his sister, Isaac went into a rage, and was determined to kill Wednesday to avenge her. But over the years, since Thing had been separated from its original body, it had developed its own life and thoughts. It had a complete sense of self even without its original body. So in the end, Isaac's own right hand pulled out the mechanical heart from his chest. This is probably the most creative way to die in the world. Isaac's second life had certainly left a vivid mark. But Wednesday still had an unresolved issue. She had to find Enid to help her friend return to normal. Wednesday had originally planned to ask Professor Capri, but found out that Capri had left the school. At this point, Capri found Tyler in front of the grave, and proposed forming a hide group. one that would help them build a group bond that transcended the need for a single master.
What's in it for you? You're a werewolf. I can smell it from here.
My father was a hag.
Anyway, this school year had come to an end. Wednesday got in Uncle Fester's car and headed north to track down Enid's trail. Her mother had already returned Aunt Ophelia's notes to her. Wednesday flipped through them slowly on the way, and unexpectedly gained clairvoyance. Catching a glimpse of Aunt Ophelia's back, secrets have always been the cornerstone of the Addams family, and beneath the surface lie hidden tumors and rot. This season concluded after leaving behind unresolved mysteries. Currently, Wednesday has been renewed for a third season. This season continues the aesthetic of the previous installment. Its unique dark gothic style is destined to attract a dedicated audience and secure the series ratings. The first 4 episodes still had the hint of straying off course, but the last 4 episodes returned to Wednesday's core theme. Love is always a foil to friendship. Girls are always the main characters of the story. All the foreshadowing in the first 4 episodes was put to effective use. Significant progress was also made in character development. Several newly introduced characters are very outstanding, especially Agnes and Isaac. The actor's temperament and image fit the concept of Wednesday perfectly, making people eagerly look forward to the next season.